Episode 4, The Meeting. Maya spent the next 2 hours doing everything she could to focus on actual work. She reviewed discovery documents from the Castellano case, drafted interrogatories for a securities fraud matter, and responded to 3 client emails with her usual precision. But her concentration kept fracturing, her mind returning to Cameron's text message like a tongue to a sore tooth. I'm not very good at forgetting either. At 1:45, she gave up pretending to work and retreated to the women's restroom on the 32nd floor, the executive level, where the bathrooms were actually nice and usually empty in the afternoon. She checked her reflection in the full-length mirror, smoothing her charcoal pencil skirt and adjusting the silk blouse she'd chosen that morning. Professional, appropriate, completely unremarkable. Except her eyes looked too bright, her cheeks too flushed. She looked like a woman anticipating something, and that was dangerous. Get it together, she told her reflection. This is a case strategy meeting, nothing more. Her reflection didn't look convinced. At 1:58, Maya knocked on the door to Conference Room B, a mid-sized room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Madison Avenue. Cameron was already there, standing by the window with his phone to his ear. He glanced up when she entered, and something flickered in his dark eyes. Recognition, heat. Something that made her pulse quicken despite her best intentions. He held up one finger, mouthing sorry, and continued his conversation. Right. No, tell them we need the revised projections by Friday or we walk. I don't care if their CFO is on vacation. A pause. Good. Thanks, Martin. He ended the call and pocketed his phone, turning to face her fully. In the afternoon light, he looked different than he had Sunday night in the dim hotel bar, or even this morning in Richard's office. More real, somehow. The sharp lines of his face, the way his navy suit fit perfectly across his shoulders, the hint of stubble along his jaw that suggested he'd been up since before dawn. Maya, he said, and just hearing her name in his voice, the same voice that had whispered filthy promises in her ear 3 nights ago, sent heat pooling low in her belly. Cameron. She kept her voice professional, moving to the conference table and setting down her leather portfolio with deliberate care. Should we wait for Richard or... He's not coming. Sent me an email 20 minutes ago. Something came up with the Berkshire deal. It's just us. Of course it was. Maya pulled out a chair and sat, crossing her legs and opening her portfolio to reveal her meticulously organized case notes. Fine. We have a lot to cover. Cameron moved to the chair across from her, but he didn't sit. Instead, he leaned against the table's edge, arms crossed, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Are we going to talk about it? He asked. About what? Don't. His voice was quiet but firm. Don't pretend this isn't complicated as hell. Maya met his gaze, refusing to look away, even though every instinct screamed at her to retreat. What do you want me to say? That I wish I'd known who you were before I took you back to my hotel? That I'm mortified we have to work together now? Because yes, Cameron, this is complicated, but it doesn't change the fact that Castellano's deposition is in 6 days and we need a coherent strategy. I know that. He ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its careful style. Christ, Maya, I'm not trying to make this harder. I need to know where we stand. We stand exactly where we said this morning. What happened Sunday night was a mistake. A really good mistake, but still a mistake. Now we're colleagues working on a case. That's it. Is it? He pushed off the table, moving around to her side, not touching her, but close enough that she could smell his cologne, something woody and expensive that made her remember the taste of his skin. Because when I look at you right now, all I can think about is how you looked in that hotel room, how you sounded when you... Stop. Maya stood abruptly, putting distance between them. Her heart was hammering, her body responding to his proximity in ways that had nothing to do with professional conduct. This can't happen. You're a partner. I'm trying to make partner. Richard specifically assigned us to work together, which means he's watching both of us. One whiff of impropriety and my career is done. And mine? Cameron's jaw tightened. You think I don't have just as much to lose? Do you? The question came out sharper than she intended. You're already a partner. You're a man. The rules are different for you, and you know it. Something shifted in his expression. Acknowledgement, maybe, or frustration. You're right, they are. Which is exactly why I'm trying to be honest with you instead of playing games. I want you, Maya. I wanted you Sunday night before I knew who you were. And I still want you now. But I'm not going to pursue something that could hurt your career. So you tell me, what do we do? The question hung in the air between them, weighted with possibility and danger. Maya's mind raced through scenarios, calculating risks and consequences the way she did with every case. But this wasn't a case. This was her life, her future, and the first man in years who'd made her feel something beyond ambition. We work the case, she said finally. We're professional. We don't talk about Sunday night again, and when Castellano settles or goes to trial, we go back to our separate corners of the firm and forget this ever happened. You really think you can do that? His voice was low, almost a challenge. Just forget? Maya forced herself to hold his gaze, to ignore the way her body was betraying her with every rapid heartbeat. I have to. For a long moment, Cameron just looked at her. Then he nodded slowly and moved back to his side of the table, sitting down and pulling out his own notes. When he spoke again, his voice was carefully neutral. All right, let's talk strategy. You've done 3 depositions so far. Castellano, his former assistant, and the HR director. What's your read on the case? Maya exhaled and sat back down, grateful for the return to familiar territory. Castellano's lying about something. His timeline doesn't add up. He claims he first learned about the investigation 3 days before he was fired, but the HR director's testimony suggests he knew at least 2 weeks earlier. And his financials show a significant cash deposit the week before his termination. How significant? $75,000. Cash. He claims it was a loan from his brother, but that's a lot of brotherly love. Cameron leaned forward, interested now. Did you depose the brother? Not yet. He's on the list for next week. But I pulled his financial records. He doesn't have that kind of liquid capital. His checking account shows a balance of $8,000. Cameron's eyes gleamed with the particular satisfaction of finding a weak spot in opposing counsel's case. So, Castellano got $75,000 from somewhere he doesn't want to disclose, right before he got fired for financial improprieties. That's not a coincidence. No, it's not. But we need to prove where it came from. If it's connected to the hedge fund, if he was taking kickbacks or insider trading, then his wrongful termination claim falls apart. What about his lawyer? Marcus Castellano's represented by, Cameron checked his notes, Deborah Winters at Klein & Associates. She's good, aggressive. She's not going to let us dig too deep into his finances without a fight. Maya nodded. I've dealt with Deborah before. She'll file motions to quash every subpoena we issue. We need to be strategic about what we request and when. They fell into a rhythm then, the professional dance of 2 skilled attorneys building a case strategy. Maya found herself relaxing incrementally, her mind engaging with the intellectual challenge in a way that felt safe and familiar. This she could do. This she was good at. Cameron was sharp, sharper than she'd expected, though she wasn't sure why that surprised her. He asked incisive questions, identified weaknesses in their discovery plan, and suggested angles she hadn't considered. When he talked about litigation strategy, his whole demeanor changed. The flirtation dropped away, replaced by focused intensity that was somehow even more attractive. They worked for 90 minutes straight, barely pausing. Maya's notes multiplied, filled with action items and follow-up questions. They divided responsibilities. Cameron would handle the financial forensics and coordinate with their expert witness, while Maya would continue depositions and draft the motion to compel Castellano's complete banking records. It was almost 3:30 when Cameron's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and grimaced. I have a call with a client in London in 5 minutes. We should wrap up. Sure. Maya started gathering her papers, feeling oddly deflated now that the meeting was ending. For the past hour and a half, they'd been just 2 lawyers working a case. It had been easy, natural. Now they'd have to go back to whatever complicated thing they were outside this room. Cameron stood, buttoning his suit jacket. This was good, productive. You're really impressive, Maya. The work you've done on this case. Richard wasn't exaggerating when he said you were one of the best associates in the firm. The compliment caught her off guard, warming her in a way that had nothing to do with attraction. Thank you. That means a lot. I mean it. He moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. For what it's worth, I'm sorry this is complicated. If I could go back to Sunday night knowing who you were. He stopped, shook his head. No, that's a lie. I wouldn't change anything, but I am sorry it makes things difficult for you. Maya's throat tightened. Cameron, I'll send you my notes from today by end of business. He opened the door, all business again. We should meet again Friday to prepare for Castellano's brother's deposition. Your office or mine? Conference room, Maya said firmly. Neutral territory. Something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. Conference room it is. Friday at 2? I'll be there. He nodded and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Maya stood alone in the conference room, surrounded by her scattered notes and the ghost of his cologne in the air. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jordan. Drinks tonight? You sound stressed and I need details about the hot partner situation. Maya smiled despite herself and typed back, perdition at 7. And there is no situation. Sure there isn't. See you at 7. Maya gathered her things and headed back to her office, trying to ignore the fact that her body still hummed with awareness, that her mind kept replaying the way Cameron had looked at her when he said he wouldn't change anything. She had 6 days until Castellano's deposition. 6 days to prove herself to Richard and the partnership committee. 6 days to keep her professional boundaries intact and her desire locked down. 6 days felt like both an eternity and nowhere near enough time. Back at her desk, Maya forced herself to focus on work. She drafted follow-up emails to the financial forensics team, reviewed documents for tomorrow's client meeting, and returned calls she'd been avoiding all day. But underneath the professional efficiency, a question nagged at her. What if Cameron was right? What if she couldn't just forget? Her phone buzzed again. Not Jordan this time. A message from an unknown number that made her pulse spike before she even opened it. You were right earlier. This is complicated, but complicated doesn't mean impossible. And it sure as hell doesn't mean I'm going to stop thinking about you. Maya stared at the message for a long moment, her finger hovering over the delete button. The smart thing would be to delete it, block the number, maintain the boundaries she'd so carefully drawn. Instead, she saved his contact and closed her phone. Some risks, it seemed, were harder to walk away from than others. And Maya was starting to realize that Cameron Pierce might be the biggest risk of all.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.